comment, you're entered to win a $100 gift card just for being here as my way of saying thank you and thank you for spending time with us. So, all right, let's get into it. Hot takes, what we're excited about and what we're leaving behind. I mean, I feel like first thing that's worth saying is I feel like our industry changed a lot in the last year. In probably starting in like late 2023 all the way into 2024, I feel like there was just such shifts. And I feel like I have been so vocal about that in the last year and want to like continue to share that because I feel like for so many people, they were like, what the fuck? Is it just me? And I think it's so helpful to be like, it's not just you. And again, like that's why these conversations are valuable. That's why we talk about this because it's so helpful to go, oh yeah, it's just how industries change. It's just how things evolve. Like, let's all talk about it and acknowledge it instead of pretending that like we are somehow like better if we're above that or something. Like you can see the industry changing and still be successful in business. You can see the industry changing and still have a good year, right? Like these are not mutually exclusive things, you know? Hi, Maggie. Hi, Manali. So good to see you guys. So excited to be here with you, Maggie. Thank you. Happy New Year to you, Manali. So anyway, that's why I feel like it's important to keep talking about. Like last year, I think so much of like how consumers want to be given content, how they want to connect, how they want to buy shifted dramatically. And our industry has to catch up. I mean, that's how it goes. Like if we're going to do this online thing for years to come, that's exactly what's going to happen sometimes. So I think 2025 that will continue, but I also think we'll probably feel a little bit more stability in what people are wanting than we did in the previous year. At least that is my assumption and my hope. So we'll see. All right, so let's get into it. I think like on that note, what I'm excited about is more values-based content, like showing what you value, what matters to you. I think like people want to know you as a human. They want to know your values. They want to know what's important to you. I think we are very turned off by not having that clarity from someone. I know personally, I feel that a ton when I follow people. I don't even totally care if someone doesn't have the exact same set of values as me, but I definitely find it to be a personal turnoff when someone's not willing to openly communicate what their values are. They seem like they're kind of trying to please everyone instead of just like being who they are and telling us what's important to them. And I think a lot more people are making buying decisions based on those values and based on that resonance. And so less of content looking like I'm going to tell you what to do and more content looking like, here's what I value, here's what's important to me, here's how I function, operate, live, serve, lead, whatever, right? Because that is, I think, what we're craving, both in terms of what we want to see and consume, but also in terms of what makes us want to buy from someone. And so I think that shift from like, I'm going to just like spew information at you or even I'm just going to like tell you how awesome I am. It's just not there anymore. It's like, we want to know you. I want to know who you are. I want to know what you value. I want to know what matters to you. I want to know how you're living. And if that is something I align with. So I feel like that is something I'm really excited about because I feel like I just believe that not only is that easy content to create, but I also believe that's what gets us truly aligned clients, right? Like when all of that's clear up front, the clients that come into your world that buy from you, that pay you are going to be so much better of a fit than when that's not openly out there or spoken, right? So I think the more we lean into values-based content in terms of like, here's what matters to me. I think I've always kind of done this in my practice a bit. And I truly feel like I have like the most amazing aligned clients. And I think this is why people stay with me for years, is because there is synergy and value alignment there. They're not just buying from me or paying me because they're like, oh, she's just going to help me make X. They're like, oh, I resonate with her on several levels. We have really similar values. We have this in common in terms of like how we want to operate or whatever. And so that value alignment is there. It makes it so much easier to have a great coaching relationship, to have long-term clients, and to have clients that truly feel like you're the right fit. So lean into that, like more values-based content that truly shows that truly showcases who you are, how you think about things is going to be such a game changer next year. And it's going to make such a difference in like right fit clients too. Hey Lacey, Happy New Year. Hey Denise, Happy New Year to you. It's good to see you. Hey Lauren, values alignment leads to long-term clients. I love that. It's so true. Because I'm sure we've all had like a coaching experience like that, where like when there's not values alignment, everything feels like a rub. Again, it's not like you have to have the exact same stance on everything. I do not have that with all my clients where we think about everything in the exact same way. But we have these really core pillars of alignment that makes it really easy and that makes it not feel like there's a rub constantly. And if there is, it's usually because our values are off. Like the clients I can think of where it's like, this just feels like this. It's almost always that. It's because like our values are just not fully aligning in a way where it's not like, oh, we're just different. We can like function in different ways, but in a way where it's like, we just don't see the same things as like truly mattering or important as it relates to like how we're accomplishing things in business or our leadership or whatever. So I think that that's huge. Hey, Angie, it's good to see you. So anyway, I think that's really in. And I also feel like, I don't know if this is helpful, but I will just say this because it's been important for me is like, I have often kind of thought like, who cares about like me? They care about how I can help them. And I think that's true, right? Like our clients absolutely care about how we can help them. But so much of who you are as the service provider impacts how you can help them. And so thinking about it in that way is like me sharing more about me sharing my values, me sharing my stance on things is so helpful in showcasing how I can be the best support for them. And so if you're in that position too, where sometimes you're like, who fucking cares what I think about XYZ thing or whatever, I feel like that's helpful. Can you give an example of how you think about things? Yeah, I mean, Lacey, I think there's like so many avenues for this. So I'm not saying this has to be yours, but I'll just give like the one that came up for me is like, I even just shared, like, I did a reel about where I stand politically. Does that have anything to do with a lit up life? No. Was that helpful for a lot of my clients? Was it clear where I stood? Yes. So again, I'm not saying like everybody has to get into like the talk politics game. I don't think that's true, but like that's just as an example where like it can be totally like out of left field where it doesn't even have to be about your business, but it's about like who you are, what you believe, where you stand. Another one that I can think of is like I shared one that was kind of like, this is what like matters to me is like time with my son. This, I can't remember what I shared, but like time with my son, getting to like go places with him, take him places. I think I did like clips of different things we've done. It's not like what number I can share for strangers on the internet. And so I think that's just a values thing. Like I'm like, one of my top values is I care how my business feels, not how it looks. And so clients resonate with that too. They're like, yes, like I really, really, really want to make like great money because that's going to feel really good to me and be important. But I don't want to get so caught up in the vanity metrics that I end up building something I hate, right? So the more I share like, oh, my value is building a business that aligns to like things I want and how I feel, the more my clients can be like, oh, I share that value, right? Where if a client didn't share that value and was like, I don't give a shit how it feels, I just want to make X amount of money and I want to scream it to the internet, they would hate working with me. They would absolutely hate having me as a coach, right? And that sounds like laughable when I say it in that dramatic of a way, but there really are people who are like, I am not concerned with how it feels to me. I want you to tell me exactly what steps to take to make X no matter what, end of story. They would literally hate having me as a coach. So anyway, that's just another example of like, when you showcase your values and where you stand on something, it's so easy for someone to be like, oh, I want to coach like that, or like, ew. No, that's not it for me. I love talking politics. I get that things. Yeah. Hey Michelle, Happy New Year, except for cardigan. Those were not clear. Oh shoot. I don't know what we were talking about there. I'm so sorry. I'm sure I said something very relevant. Maybe values. We share values on how everyone loves your cardigans. I can't remember. Oh, sorry. Okay. Leaving behind. I feel like this is a big one. but I feel like there was this period of time in our industry where all anyone thought was like the thing to do was like chaotically launch 1,000,000 offers. Um, and that was like the thing is like, how much can you launch? How fast can you launch? Like, how many things can you like inundate your audience with? I feel like, oh, Michelle, the cardigans in relation to the political reel. OMG. Yeah, no one could agree on the card. I couldn't even agree on the cardigan. I wore a red cardigan and it just threw the whole thing. But yes, that we cannot agree on. But I feel like the chaotic launching, having so many offers, like the whole time, I feel like I've been saying like that is not sustainable business. That will not work. You are not going to have a business you like. Clients aren't going to stick around. So like, listen, this is obviously a bias, but I really do see that shifting in our industry too. I don't see as many people being interested in this idea of like, how much can I pump out? How fast can I get it out? How many things can I throw at my people? I feel like most people that did that are realizing that that is a really tough way to run business, to run a sustainable business. Um, and I just don't feel like it's the trend anymore. It's not to say you can't do like stacked offers or low ticket or anything like that, but I think we're coming back to just being so much more intentional and strategic about how we're doing these things. Hey, Katie, just popping in for a moment. Thank you for being here. Yes, definitely come back, but thank you so much for being here. But I just feel like that's not the vibe right now. And I don't feel like that's what most audiences want either. They don't want someone just throwing offer after offer out at them. And I also think most people, again, on that trust front that we're like continuing to talk about in our industry, is that does not build trust, right? When like every new offer is like the thing that changed everything for you, and you have a different version of that every single week. And like you're constantly throwing that at them. Like, I don't think that that's what they're wanting to like stick around and consume. And I also don't think it's trust building enough to like sustainably build a business. Do you need an offer suite? Do you need a stack? Of course, like those things are really helpful. I'm not saying that. But I think like gone are the days of like, I launched, 10 things this month. And sharing that in a way that like everybody's like, oh yeah, I want that. Like, I think we're realizing and getting wise to the idea that like that is not serving us or our audience. Curious, when you say not throwing offer after offer out, is this also in relation to putting CTAs at the end of things, or only talking about offers 24/7? So Michelle, I think it's more like always having a different offer. So I think like CTA is totally, but I think like there was this time where it was like, this week I have this like 1 week group program, and then next week I have this training, and then next week I have this, right? Like, and it was just like always something new, always something different. You were always like missing something. You needed all of it. It was just like this chaotic kind of energy. So anyway, I think totally different too. Like CTAs. What I really want to know are CTAs in 2025. Yeah, I mean, so I'll kind of skip to what I was going to say next that resonates or like answers that a bit. But I think like what we're leaving behind is the idea that like engagement doesn't matter as much, I guess. I think community and engagement matter so much. I feel like there was a time where it was just like sell, sell, sell. Even if they're not engaging, it doesn't really matter because they're still seeing the opportunity to buy, they'll buy. And I think people that went so hard on that, like on the chaotic offer front, just see that they have less community and less engagement in their audience. They don't have people as connected with them. They don't have people that are wanting to like engage and start conversations with them, like, because it just got so like sale, sale, sale. Now, I'm a big believer in sell in your business. Do not get me wrong there. But I really think like the more things have shifted, your sales are based on how connected your people feel to you, your message, your brand, whatever. And so, having calls to action that are not always a sale, I think matters a ton, because I think the more your audience wants to connect with you, speak to you, engage with you, they're far, far, far more likely to buy from you. Now, that doesn't mean like they have to comment on every post. Like, I think like for me, it's so normal that like I have people that never comment on a post and they buy from me. But I also think they see the conversations happening there. And I think that's meaningful to them. And I also think they feel the connection of that, or they feel the warmth of that, or they feel like they could send a DM without immediately getting like, hey, are you ready to purchase kind of thing. And I think that's what matters. So it's not like, oh my gosh, your audience has to engage on every single post, blah, blah, blah. But I really do think like, yes, let's have those calls to action and that kind of thing. But let's not do that so much that we lose that community feel and element to it. I remember the season of A Million Offers. Totally. So tiring. I have a funnel that does a few weeks for a turn on event, a few weeks for a free call, then a month-ish of the paid offer. Do you think that's too chaotic? A few weeks for a turn on event, a few weeks for free. No, not at all. I don't think that's chaotic. I mean, I think that's truly like a funnel. You're like, here is a free thing. Here's an opportunity to talk to me. Here's an opportunity to buy from me. When I'm saying chaotic offers, it would be like that thing I was saying earlier of like, buy this thing this week and this thing next week and this thing the week after, and they're all the magic solution, but you need all of them. And da-da. Like, that's to me where it gets chaotic. What you're saying is truly like a one funnel. It's not like fracturing out at all. I think that's totally, totally fine. Denise said, I feel like I need new reasons and ways for people to get to know me through lead-in products. Do you think that's important? Totally. I think like a lot of this, I've tested a few of these myself, but a lot of these like quick win, like ManyChat, kind of opt-ins, I think are doing really, really well for people right now, where it's like, you're just giving them kind of like a quick, like win with you, I guess you could say, or a quick touch point with you. I'll just use mine as an example because I think it's easier, but like I did one where I just used ChatGPT a lot. And I was like, here are a lot of the scripts and templates I'm using to have it be a content brainstorming partner. Here you go. Like, just comment and I'll send it to you. I didn't even do an opt-in, although like you totally could. I think for another one, I did like what I use for like a planning document. And did I do an opt-in? I don't even know if I did. I don't think I even did an opt-in for that one either, but you could. But yes, I do think quick wins like that are very helpful. And I think it just gets people a little bit more engaged with you. So like if someone's like using my ChatGPT prompts, I think that's helpful. If they use my planning document, I think that's helpful, kind of like brings them into my world. But they're not like offers, right? They're like more like, hey, I'm giving you this free resource today. And the easiest way to deliver it is like, in this sense, versus like making it real with like, here's the exact ChatGPT things, go try to get them off this rail. I'm just giving them to them. So anyway, I think that's different than the like chaotic offer thing, because it's not like buy 52 things for me. It's like truly a value add for free. I know everyone hates like free shit in our space for some reason. I'm not even gonna get into that today. But like everyone hates a freebie hunter or something like that. But I really do think, to your point, Denise, like it's just a way for people to get to know you. It's a way for people to connect with you. And I feel like those quick wins really are going super well for people. And even just getting that many people in a ManyChat funnel that you could go send another message to, getting them on your list, like all of that does a lot. Again, them using something of yours regularly does a lot for you. Yes. Also, on a totally different note, I just cut my hair and I'm missing the longer hair, and yours looks so good now. Oh, thank you, Michelle. I still have my extensions in, so it's not saying it's actually not just my hair. Well, I mean, some of it is, but you get my point. Okay, so chaotically launching a lot of offers. What were we talking about? Oh, the community thing. Yeah. So like I really do think that like having community and having engagement, it just does matter. Sometimes the engagement is going to be because people are commenting because they want the thing that we just talked about. Sometimes it's going to be because they want to share thoughts with you, or they feel connected to you, or they want to share something with you, or they feel welcome to add their own thoughts and perspective. But I think them feeling like that really, really does add a huge dose of why they would buy from you, why they want to do that more with you, why they want to go further with you. And I also think like from a consumption standpoint, I don't know if you guys are big TikTokers. I personally love TikTok. I love it. I am so upset at the idea of it going away potentially soon. But what's so neat about TikTok that I do not feel like has fully transitioned to Instagram, but I think probably will soon, is it really feels like there's like a lot of like true conversations happening. Um, in a way that I think Instagram has gotten away from in favor of being so like sales oriented. And I feel like people are feeling this pull to like more realness, more connection, more real conversations, more like, oh my God, yes, that, me too. I have this thought, like more of that like community element that I feel like Instagram has, potentially shifted away from a bit, I think, in favor of so many chat stuff, so many CTAs, so much of that stuff. So I do think, especially if TikTok goes the way we're going to see a bigger shift to that. But again, I also feel like that's why people like TikTok. It just feels more unfiltered, more real, more connective. It's also fucking wild too. Like people are crazy. Don't get me wrong. I think like, people are like I think the like notion is people are more mean on TikTok, but I think they're just like more opinionated, more real, more in conversation, that kind of thing. And so I think that is a bit of what we're craving. And let me tell you, I have had my experiences with that this year. I've had like I think 3 reels, 4 reels maybe this year go over 1 million. And there have been some crazy ass comments, but I will say, like, they have only further solidified my value and my position with my audience because they have, even though they've been a little bit lightning rodish, they have been something that people could go, oh my God, yes, me too, or I feel this way about it, or I connect with you on that front. And I think that that really makes a difference. So it's not about the virality per se, but it's about saying the real thing enough instead of it just being constantly this like, buy this thing, buy this thing, buy this thing, buy this thing. Does that make sense? I hope that is translating. And I think that relates to the CTA thing, but feel free to like tell me if I need to clarify that more. Um, okay, let me see what else I have here. Okay, so another excited about thing is more intentionality with how we like structure and deliver things. I feel like messy as the vibe is helpful. And I think it's like really important in being able to be like, hey, we can do things messy. Hey, like things don't have to be perfect. I think for so many perfectionists, recovering perfectionists, like that message of like, do it messy. It doesn't have to be perfect is like one of the most important we can have. But I feel like we really got to this place in our industry where like messy meant like you could just sell a thing that you like barely even tried for a plan on, or you just like, you basically do this. You jump on like it's a free live stream, you just like spit a bunch of random stuff. You don't even like make notes. And then you like peace out. And then you're like, everyone should be thrilled about this. But I think like we're seeing a pushback on stuff like that where people are like, this is not it, especially with AI and stuff where you can source so much knowledge and information. Like they want it delivered to them in a intentional, consumable, useful way. Um, and so I do think that that's like a shift that we're totally starting to see and going to see even more of is that like, yes, done is better than perfect, but like what you're paying for matters. People care about like getting good value for what they are paying for, and they care about how it's delivered, and it will matter to them if it feels like there was thought and intention behind it versus if it was really obvious that you wanted to make the sale but didn't really want to deliver on the product. And I think people are going to do more chargebacks and have more pushback around stuff like that. And this isn't to like make anyone scared or be like, oh my God, it has to be perfect or everyone's coming from you. I think that our industry just took such a hard swing to this idea of like, it doesn't need to be perfect at all in any way, shape, or form. And again, I think that fractured trust. And so I think we're just seeing more of that. Like, and that's why you can't deliver on that chaotic launch. Like, you can't launch 10 offers a month and actually have true quality behind them. And so coming back to more simplification, more quality, more intentionality, I think matters so much. Again, like information is a dime a dozen now in terms of like AI and what, is coming with that. And so being able to create something that makes and gives a reason for someone to get that from you specifically because the way that you share it really lands because The delivery is really powerful because there is intentionality behind it, because you truly thought through a system, whatever that is. But I really think that's going to matter a ton, and is going to be something that like our industry demands, our buyers demand. I mean, I at the very least really hope it is something our buyers start demanding, because I think that it matters. And I think just with like what AI is doing and is capable of, like you have to have a reason to be better than that, you know, for them to want to buy that from you. And I think we're just leaving behind that like messy as the strategy. Like messy is good, right? Done is better than perfect. And messy as the strategy, or even like the excuse, I would say, for things being like delivered in a certain way, I do not think is landing for people anymore at all. I would be so curious about y'all's thoughts if you're listening, but I really think like there is more and more pushback on that. And I think that that's helpful. And I think that helps our industry become better and do better. Okay, the next one. I'm so curious what y'all think about this too, because I feel like this is like an interesting one, even though like it kind of shouldn't be, but it is. But I'm excited about organic content. I think that like people have gotten so yeah, Emma says messy has never landed for me. Emma was like, that was never in things. Yes. Okay, but I feel like organic has gotten, people have gotten jaded, right? And I think there's this philosophy or this vibe sometimes of like, you can't grow organically, or don't focus on organic too much, or organic to Francine. I love this. You guys are like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, but that was always a no. Fair. But I feel like, yeah, do you guys know what I'm saying, right? Where it's almost like people are like, oh, I can get clients even without focusing on organic. And honestly, I felt like that for a while too. I mean, I've always focused on organic, but I was like, I mean, I guess I've never done paid ad, but like, I never felt like I had to focus on it in quite the way that I do now, I guess is how I'll say it. But when you focus on it, you can grow a lot. Like I have clients that are absolutely rushing it and growing so much on Instagram and even on TikTok. Again, we'll see what happens with that, right? But like organic is the path. I think for so many of us business owners, it doesn't mean ads can't be part of that. But here's the truth. Like the way you know what's going to work on an ad is what's working for you organically. If you can't get organic content to work, the likelihood that you're going to get paid content to work really well is lower. It just is, right? The idea that you cannot grow organically, it's not true. It just means it's harder than it ever was. And I think that's true. The market is more saturated. People's, again, consumer behavior has changed. People have different wants, desires. They want to consume content in a different way. It just means you have to be more adaptable, and you have to care more, and you have to engage with it more. But something I was talking to one of my clients about this morning, which she put so beautifully, is like, you have to be willing to be seen trying, you know? I feel like that was a lot of 2024 for me, as I was like, okay, I'm going to be seen trying reels for the first time. I'm going to be seen playing with this. I'm going to be seen going for virality and seeing what happens there, going for reach and testing that out. And I'm so glad I did. I mean, it was like amazing to feel like I can be in control of more leads, more reach, command more attention, all of that kind of stuff. Again, I think like some metrics matter, some don't. Like, I don't think like my most viral stuff was necessarily the like most helpful. I don't even know that follower count matters as much anymore, because like followers and reach just don't line up. But my point is, we cannot sleep on organic if we want online businesses. Like, it is still there. It is still present. I think it is going to be very interesting, again, depending on what happens with TikTok and where things go. Like, you are going to have to step up your game on that front. You are going to have to care. You are going to have to be engaged in it. You're going to have to pay attention. You're going to have to like know what's trending, what people are liking, what your people specifically are liking, in a way that like, I think we've always obviously had to care about what our clients like, but I just don't think we've ever had to try quite as hard. But also it doesn't have to be hard. Does that make sense? Like, I don't know how, like, I have personally had a ton of fun with it this year, and I have tried, which I feel like is my entire business. I really like it, and I definitely try and show up. And I think this like whole energy in our space, I think we can leave behind of like, it's only cool if you're not trying. Like, I feel like that's such a vibe in our space is like, it's only amazing if I have a big launch, if I barely tried to launch or like whatever the fuck. And I think we just have to like let that go. Lauren is saying literally my growth edge be seen trying. Yes, that's the energy for 2024. Or 2025, sorry. Because like it's not better if you put no effort in, right? It's not better if it's like the messiest thing out there. It's not better if like you got the result without having to try for the result at all. Like again, you don't have to like prove yourself through like massive amounts of hard work, but I do think like we've really gotten to this point where it's like only cool if you didn't put effort in. But as far as like what's required to grow on social media, effort and attention is part of it. It just is, right? Yeah, Emma said, can you speak to your strategy for staying on top of those trends and leveraging them in a way that feels authentic for you as a coach versus as an influencer? Followers for the sake of followers. Yes. I love how this kind of goes along with main character energy vibes too. Manali, I was thinking that too. It's like main characters are like out there, they're doing it, they're living, they're being, right? Like I have this quote here that sits on my desk that I love. And it says, as long as come to my attention that people of accomplishment rarely sat back and let things happen to them. They went out and happened to things. And I think that's this to a certain extent, right? It's like, we can just sit back and be like, I'm going to just like post whatever. And like, that's how I have to get successful versus like, what if I went out and like tried for this? What if I happened to this? What if I was like, I am going to master organic content and I'm going to like see what that brings me. And I think we're always having to like, I don't feel like I'm a master at it at all, but I feel like I'm really in the arena and like trying for it, you know? Yeah, Maggie said it's so toxic to think I can't sell because for some crazy reason, no one should see me selling. How we sell is by selling. I could not agree more. Like, that has become such a problem in our space. Like it's only good if whatever, like you don't have to try. Like I feel like people position or like see me in that way. Sometimes when I try to combat that, they're like, yeah, but you don't have to try because you have a huge wait list. I'm like, I have a huge wait list because I try. It's the exact opposite. Like the reason I have a huge wait list is because I still fucking show up every day because I do these live streams because I have a plot. Like I have the wait list because I try. It's not the opposite, you know? So I think that's like really important to say. Yes, Netflix, Apple, Nike. Manali said, I love seeing reminders from big companies all the time, especially the ones that have been around for so long. Totally. And they're even how like those brands do social and stuff, I think is so relevant. Like how they try to position themselves almost as like a person talking or have this like funny personality to their brand on social and in comments. Like they are evolving, they care, they're trying, they're adapting, they're adjusting. Like we all have to do the same shit, right? Fran said the trying is fun, but the fear of it not working can become an issue for me at times. And I think that's what's hard about social is because both will happen at the same time all the time. It's working and it's not. Or like it works one day and it doesn't work the next. I mean, I think that's kind of what's crazy right now is like, you could like, again, I'll just use myself, but like I could have a reel go to like 2 million people one day, and then I could have it go to like another one go to 3K the next day. And I think that like that's hard for us to swallow. And I don't think it used to be so up and down. And so I think that's what makes social harder right now is that there's so much more variance in a way that it like did not used to be. It used to be like, oh, if you could get X, you could pretty reasonably sustain that over and over. But I think like, yeah, that tolerance for it is totally part of it. That tolerance for one day is going to be 3K, one day is going to be 1 million, and there's going to be like so much variability in the in between. Yeah. Yeah, the roller coaster of it was deterring for a while. 100%. It's so, I mean, it's just extreme. It really is. Rita said, love that phrase. The only way I've been able to fully step into professional speaking and grow it is being seen trying and also prioritizing relationship building over everything else. 100%. Like, every creator out there is trying, whether they want to position it like they are and aren't. Like, I feel like people miss this so much. Like, I think if you think about people that are like really, really successful on social media, they in our industry, even like they might say, like, oh, it's easy for me, it just blends in with my life. I don't da da da. But if you really watch what they're doing, you're like, wow, you show so much. You show up so consistently. You are so present for your audience. You like all these really specific things, and they maybe don't experience it as trying really hard. So that's awesome. And or they don't want to name it as that, but that's exactly what it is. You know what I mean? Um, Michelle said, I feel like that variability contributes to the addictiveness of it too. Yeah. Oh my God. Of course it does. Yeah. Cause you're like, but I also think as a business owner, that can be the fun of it because you're like, oh, how could I do this again? So I feel like in a way it's really unhealthy. And in a way it's like could be fun. If you don't make it wrong when it doesn't like pop, because they're not all going to pop by any means. And again, pop isn't even like what you want. Like if I look back at my most impactful content of last year, probably none of them were like my most viral pieces. Um, so okay, so I wanted to answer on this question about like how do you like stay trendy, but like work with that. I try not to get so specific of like I must do this trend of like whatever. Like this exact lip sync or this whatever. But what I really try to think about is like, what do people seem to be liking? What do I like to engage with? What do other people seem like? If I look on my For You page, what is really obviously getting a ton of traction? And I think like just being able to look at it like that, where it's like, oh, people like when you're sharing more personally, like they really like when you share through your lens versus someone else's lens. I did that experiment on my page recently where I shared a post where I didn't talk about myself at all. I talked about what 7-figure business owners do. I didn't even like name myself as one, and it tanked. And I was like, yeah, because that confirmed it for me, because every other piece of content I see where someone's talking about it through their own lens is doing well. And when they're not, they're not. So I try to look at it like much more broadly like that than like whatever I have to do like this one trend. I mean, obviously sometimes I will because I get an idea that relates to it, but I don't think that's required. I think it's more like, what about this is working? What about this trend is working? Oh yeah, it's because whatever, people are sharing really vulnerably, or because they're getting to see a side of you they haven't seen, or because you're putting it through your own personal lens that they really like to learn from in that way. So I think that that's how it helps you translate it, because it's not about kind of fitting yourself into a box. It's being like, what do consumers like? How are we liking content right now? What's landing for us, right? And when you look at that, it gets more obvious. Like I even plan on doing a lot more like talking face to camera stuff next year than just even like a lip sync reel or a B-roll. Cause I feel like when I look at like what I like on TikTok, for example, it's a lot more of that. Like I'm like, talk to me, tell me something. Like, I like that like almost like realness of it. And so to me, I'm like, oh, other people seem to like that too. When I see what's popping on TikTok, it's a lot of that. Okay, interesting. How can I apply that? Like I did a reel recently where I just talked about what our house manager did for us, which seems like kind of irrelevant content, but I think it was like interesting because people are like, oh, I want to know that information. It felt like I was giving you a peek into our life. It felt like it was just like girlfriend to girlfriend being like, oh, this is what we do with our house manager. Da, 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 da. I think that kind of stuff is doing super, super well. So anyway, it's just paying attention to like what is and then applying it. I hope that makes sense. Yeah, don't make it wrong when it doesn't pop. Exactly. And I mean, I think the other thing is too, is just remembering like with organic, you have to have an appetite for the fact that different reels are going to do different things. Like the super viral stuff might not get you a client, but like the ones that are going to get you a client might, have much lower reach, but like reach your more immediate warm leads, etc. But to circle back to the whole point I was making, organic is not dead. If you want your ads to really pay off, mastering your organic first is going to be one of the best ways to do that. And I just think like, yeah, like this is how we run online businesses to a certain extent. And I think just like acknowledging that means so much. Yeah, you love the face to camera chats. I really am going to try to do those more. It's like it's on my list. Um, I think the last one that I'll share, because I know this is getting long, I'll probably do like an Instagram post where I share even more because I feel like I have so many thoughts on this. But I think something I'm really excited for is just like more emotional intelligence in leadership, more values driven leadership. I feel like there was kind of this time in our space where I feel like it was, I'm about to be such a bitch. Um, Whereas there's almost like this emotional ineptness of like, I just have to get on and talk about how I'm perfect and how everyone else is not, and that's it. And we like called that leadership. And that was like landing in a season. And I feel like more nuance, more emotional intelligence and leadership, caring about our audience and our impact and our team. I really think that that's what people are going to want to see and demand to see. Coming up, I think we're so over this idea that like just because you tell me you're amazing, I have to believe it. And that's that. Like, show me, lead with that, make me feel that, give me that experience. Like, that's how I build trust. And I really do think that people are just going to absolutely demand it in the sense of they're just not going to buy from people that they don't feel like have that emotional intelligence in their leadership and how they're showing up and how they're navigating things. I mean, I think this is going to be, by all intents, I think there's a lot of crap that is coming up this year, it seems. I don't know. I might be too down the TikTok rabbit hole, so take that for what it's worth. But like the way we navigate the emotional intelligence we use to navigate that as leaders, how we speak about it, how we like interact with our people, like that is going to matter so fucking much. And hopefully it does. I'm so excited for that to be an important thing. And I do think that's where the like tides are turning. Rita said there's definitely a push towards value-centered leadership and people-centric leadership. That's one of the most requested keynotes from associations, corporations, and business conference. And it's a big request because members, employees, teams, clients, etc., are demanding leadership from that center. I totally agree. I think online too, that's what we want to see. Like, I don't think it's like cool to be the leader that's like, I'm amazing and everyone else sucks. Or like, I did this all on my own and like everyone else is like a peon kind of thing. Like, I think there was a time where for some reason we felt that that was cool or that was trendy or was like amazing. And I think that's gone. Like, we want a leadership with depth, emotional intelligence, connectiveness, like Rita said, people centric. I think we're going to absolutely just turn our wallets away, turn our faces away if we're not seeing that in people. And I think that that really, really matters. And I think it's part of that value content. It doesn't mean that you don't still get to talk about like what you're doing and how you're amazing and all of that stuff. But I think this like pedestaling, while putting everyone or everything else down or speaking to our people like they are not as great as us or like they are somehow missing something if they are not learning from us or whatever. Like, I just don't think we're going to vibe with that anymore. I don't think that that's what people want. And I don't think that that's like content that makes someone want to keep consuming it. Right? Might shame someone into buying one time or something like that, but I don't think that's the like repetitive consumption content that builds a community, that builds sustainability, that really keeps people engaged with you, connected to you, buying from you again and again. So that is that, I guess. Being emotionally inept is what we're leaving behind. And we're talking about more intelligence, or more emotional intelligence in leadership, being more values focused, values driven, making the people that you're serving and leading and speaking to and speaking with matter and important, and not kind of treating them as like a means to an end, which goes back to all that other stuff, delivering to them in a beautiful way, having open conversations with them, selling products that are actually going to make a difference to them, et cetera, et cetera. Like, I don't think any of this is rocket science, but I do think like this is part of the recalibration we're going through. We're like Who is the human behind that? Do I like them? Do I resonate with them? Do they give me a good experience? Do they truly help me? And if that keeps happening, it's easy to keep building a business. And when that fractures, it's hard to, you know? So I hope that helps. Yes, it's also so hierarchical, and the more liberated way is to be collaborative. So people with similar values will be in collaboration and not the dictatorship. Beautifully said, Maggie. I love, love, love that, right? It's so like, I'm better than you and I know more than you, or I made more money than you, so I'm cooler, or some dumb shit like that, versus like, oh, the people with this set of values should come together and have conversation and support each other and buy from each other. Like, yes, so agree with that. So again, I'll probably do a carousel or something because I feel like I have even more to say, but this one has obviously gotten kind of long. But thank you guys for coming. I'm so happy to like be back in the vibe. We had such a fun break. It was so beautiful and enjoyable, but it's very fun to be back here with y'all. So thank you for being here. I will be back next week. I love you all, and I hope you have a beautiful start to 2025. Bye, y'all.